I am a temple who walks the earth. My womb is fertile for giving birth. I am a woman planted in truth. I grow my branches from sacred roots. You are the form of who you want to be. So come untethered, your soul is free. We're here to heal, we're here to thrive. We are a dream who's come alive. We light a candle, our hearts awake. Illumination for God's sake. A revelation for God's sake. An evolution for God's sake. An inspiration for God's sake. 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 For God's sake.
And so it is. Hello, Essence. Welcome back to another week of Wild Soul Medicine Radio. I'm Jody England. And today we are taking the medicine of being down and in. And, you know, one of the things you can count on about me is I will always bring you the medicine that I am currently working in my life. And what's great about that is you can trust that I'm doing the work, right? So I'm not just speaking at you about what you should do, but I'm actually living and modeling what it is I'm talking about. And, you know, the reason I say that today is because it really speaks to our theme of being, you know, not hovering above our lives, but really being in the trenches and embodying ourselves and our souls. And, you know, there are lots of gurus and talking heads out there who are, you know, very successful in attracting people and handing them blueprints and, you know, step-by-step instructions of exactly how to do the thing, and they're not actually doing the thing. So today we're going to talk about that, about hovering above our lives. And, you know, it never ceases to amaze me. I feel like I'm, you know, doing my work, or I feel like I'm, you know, things are going well, and then some deep insight occurs and I'm like, totally missed that. Had no idea I was hovering above my life in that way. And so that's what I think is profound about the medicine that we're sharing here is this stuff is tricky. You know, we're the women who listen to this show are smart, intelligent, competent, capable women. And it's not that we don't know, right? We know what we need to do. We can see if we're doing the things or not doing the things. But only about 4% of our minds are conscious. And so 96% of what's happening in our lives every single day, we're totally missing. We don't even realize we're doing it. We had no intention of doing it. And mostly we can't even see that it's happening, right? So unless we are having people reflect for us, unless we are deep in inquiry ourselves, we're going to be missing the things that are going on under the surface. And so my hope is that what happens on this show every single week is giving you an opportunity to go deeper into your own space, into your own experience, into your own dusty closets to see how this medicine, whether it's my own or the guests that we have or the women who call in for seeing and healings, you know, whatever that medicine is, it really is an opportunity to go deeper in yourself. And so today we are doing that. I'm going to share with you some really cool insights that I am loving that have happened this week. And there are many of them. And this is also one of the ways that the universe works and that energy works is we tend to get a lot of lessons in a row, right? So if you're paying attention, there are patterns to the lessons. And usually, if you don't pay attention and address the lesson the first time, then you get another dose and another dose and another dose, and they might be speaking louder and louder, the doses that you receive. So I've had this lesson of hovering above my life present itself in a few different spaces this week. So I'm going to share those with you, and then I don't know how long that's going to take, but when that feels complete, I will open the lines to receive any callers that would like me to take a peek into where they might be missing something, whether it's a place that they're not fully in, that they really want to be, or, or really anything. So if you want to call in, you can do that at any time. Viv will receive your call and just place you on hold. And then when we're ready, you'll be in the queue. So the number to call in is 937-552-2747, 937-552-2747, if you're feeling like you'd receive some medicine today. Okay. So how did I discover that I was hovering above my life? Well, I have been living in a beautiful, amazing palace of a home for the last 4 years. And I actually moved here after filing bankruptcy. I haven't shared that story very much. I'm going to share that deeper in an upcoming show. But for now, I'll just say I filed bankruptcy. I moved from the house that I was in and manifested this amazing, amazing property. It's about $1 million property. We've been able to rent it for a very cheap rate all these years. And while that was an amazing manifestation and we've had beautiful experiences here, there was a lot of learning in that experience for me because up until then, I always operated from a paradigm of being very attached to my house, to my land. I grew up as a farm girl. Hold on. So as I start getting vulnerable, here goes the voice. 1 second. That's one of the ways my medicine shows up. Okay, so today is about being vulnerable. And so my body is having a response to that. Hello, body. I'm in you. I feel you. All right, let me just take a breath. I think that was a cue to get more down and in. Less story, more depth. Okay, here we go. So, bottom line, I'd always been very attached to my property, my home. That was a big part of my identity. So I've used this last 4 years to really be in a place of practicing detachment. So I'm in this home and it's beautiful, but it's not mine. I know that every year when we renegotiate the lease, we could move. And so that taught me a lot, right? It taught me that property is not my identity, that I don't have to be attached and so forth. And then we started, so I've been having some breakthroughs here recently around the possibility of moving, of moving to a place where my ecology is more supported. So I live in the Midwest and I'm a psychic medicine woman, which, as you might guess, in the Bible Belt of Ohio, is not a super popular thing. And there aren't too many people that I hang out with here. And so as I started stepping into my essence and putting myself out there in the world, it was like, maybe we need to move to a place where more of my tribe lives, right? So we were taking steps in that direction, exploring, visiting out there. And lo and behold, as I detached, the landlord called us and said, hey, would you guys like to buy this house? And, we're still in detachment and like, I don't know, we'd love to, but we don't really think we would have the money and how would that happen? And right. So these are all good law of attraction principles, right? As like, yes, that would be nice. And, if it didn't happen, that would be fine. So I feel like the universe really intervened on my behalf. And one miracle after another where it actually appears that we will be buying this house. And we will be staying here. We will be putting some roots into actually being in Ohio for at least the next 10 years or so. And as that occurred, there's celebration, right? So good, so amazing, very fun. I started having lots of insights around just how much I had been hovering above my life here, right? So all the while I was practicing detachment, I was not putting myself into my life here. So for example, we showed up at my children's soccer game the other night and I sat down by a parent who I've never seen before because I don't participate with those parents, because I always, somewhere unconsciously, was thinking, I'm not going to be here that long. I'm not going to be here that long, so I don't need to get to know that person. Or I don't really belong here, so I'm not going to, really be part of this town, right? And it's everywhere. Even as I went to plant flowers for the spring, always before I'm planting them with this detachment of like, oh, I'm going to plant these bulbs. I don't know if I'll be here when they come up, but, I'm just going to put them in. And as I started entertaining this energy of ownership of this house and putting my roots in here, I felt this energetic shift happen in me where suddenly I could own. I was stepping into my power in all these other areas. Like, oh my gosh, I've been hovering above my business too, right? Like I'm going to build it later. I'm going to build it when this happens or when that happens or when this piece is in place or when source shows me my next step. I was noticing this book chapter that I'm writing for The Path of the High Priestess, that I am so far behind on my deadlines, and I keep telling myself like, oh, I'm praying for inspiration. I'm waiting for, divinity to intervene, whatever that ends up looking like. And yet that keeps not happening, right? And so I was doing some energy work today with Viv, and we were looking at all kinds of things, but, the insight was around this way that we spiritually bypass, right? So we can use this idea of detachment to actually be a smokescreen for avoidance. So my printer is beside me. It suddenly started cleaning. Let me turn it off. Okay, it might not actually turn off, so sorry if that's distracting. Yes, where was I? Down an end. Okay, it's a smoke screen, right? So we say like, oh, I'm being detached, I'm waiting, I'm not concerned with the outcome. But really we're just avoiding being in the space of doing the work, of seeing what's in the way, of getting down and dirty with, there may be feelings we don't want to feel. There may be an experience that we're not wanting to have. And so we keep telling ourselves this story that we are going to do that later, or, that our power is somehow outside of us, rather than actually grounding into our power. One of the things about manifestation is it is a co-creation. Right? It's you and the universe. So it's never going to be you taking your hands off the wheel and saying, universe, do this thing for me, right? The universe is like, well, what do you want me to do? What would you like it to look like? When would you like to have it? What would it be? So you have to really participate, right? You have to co-create with the universe. You can't actually take your hands off the wheel. And so here's the thing. To everything there is a season, right? So I did need to learn all of those lessons about detaching from property. And I do need to surrender to source more. And I need to be in my power and responsibility, dancing in the co-creation of what it is I'm calling forward, right? And so really that is the medicine for today is I want to invite you, if you're interested in having me take a look, to see where is it in your life that you think you're fully in, but it's possible you might actually be hiding out in some way. And then what I'd love to do is read that for you and then see if we can allow you to be more down and in. Why should we be more down and in? Because when you are infinitely more powerful. You don't have to keep waiting. And also you can stop wasting your life. There's no reason to live in a property for 4 years where I actually made a video for a program I'm offering a couple days ago. And I walked out to, we were looking for like the right combination of light and shade and tree and background and so forth. And so I ended up underneath a pine tree on this property. It's a 4-acre property, so it's big, but it's not huge. And I realized I had never stood on that piece of the property. Really, that whole like edge of the property, I've never walked on. I've never stood out there. And it was like, I cannot even believe how much I have been not enjoying the fullness of this beautiful place that I've manifested for myself, right? And we all do that. Like we're withholding ourselves. We're withholding ourselves from the people around us. We're withholding ourselves from the joy of a full experience. There's even a way that I've been withholding myself from this radio show, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I think I've spoken to it a little bit, as much as I was aware of in past shows, but there's a way that I've been hovering above the show, right? So let me explain what that might look like as a window into where you might also be doing something like this. So I love the show. I've spent a lot of time on the show. I've shown up as vulnerably as I could on the show. And yet I had this sense that I was somehow still playing it too safe. And I couldn't think of, so think of this. Think, right, is an indication that you're up above. So I'm in the head with it instead of in the body, like not embodying the show or the feelings that are down there, but just trying to think of what will fix it, right? So it's like, oh, maybe I need to, tell more truths. I wonder what truths would be the edgiest to share, right? So there's all of those ways that even though you're going down this spiritual path, right, those are also bullshit bypassing things. If you haven't noticed, the new trend in emails is everybody sharing like, I'm going to tell you something vulnerable in this email, right? And then they share something that's kind of contrived and controlled and is not actually very vulnerable. So anything can be twisted and, sort of bastardized into a form that's not really truth, right? So as I was feeling into this down and in piece, again, it opened a door of like, oh, that's the thing. That's the thing that's off with the radio show. And, I noticed it someone I was offering healings last week because it felt in congruence at the end of a couple of those readings to offer support, right? To offer continued, coaching options or paid support for those women. And yet I wasn't totally clear in my system, like, oh, was that the right thing to do then? Or, I don't want to do that and then have people think that's what this show is about selling my stuff. And also it's not about selling my stuff, right? I mean, I am in business and I do have work to do in the world and I do receive compensation for doing that. So I just hadn't reconciled any of those pieces. So that was all kind of floating out there. So here's the cool thing about getting down and in is suddenly all the questions stop swirling and the truth is just evident. It's just there. So as I was clearing the stuff and stepping into my power, there were some feelings there that I was not wanting to feel. And the feelings were fear, right? So let me just see if I can do this not from a place of the head. All right, so I'm going to get down and in my body right now. Yeah, so the feelings that were there were fear. And I can still feel them now when I actually inhabit my body. And the fear is that if I invite people into my work, if I invite them to go deeper, they might misperceive my motives. They might stop listening to the show. Yeah, they might get mad at me, right? And so as I think about that feeling of people might get mad at me or they might not like me, I can feel how there's a way I hover above being fully myself because I want to be liked. And so instead of saying edgy things that I'm constantly thinking or that are wanting to come through, I put those things to the side because they either scare me or I'm afraid they're going to scare you, right? And also when I do that, I'm not serving either of us. I'm not serving myself because I'm not being true. And I'm not serving you because if I say something that scares you, that's because you need to move something or that's an edge to see. So I might say something that pisses you off and has you stop listening. And if so, I trust that that's the medicine you needed in that moment, right? So my commitment with the show is to actually be down and in, is to be down and in this vulnerable, truly vulnerable way, not contrived and not rehearsed, but really just navigating my way into like, okay, what is happening for me right now? What am I present to right now? And I know that that serves. It always serves, right? And even if it doesn't serve, it's my path. It's what my path is. So if it's also your path, then you'll continue, to listen. There's another truth that I've just been dying to say. And again, that is, I haven't said it or done it because I'm afraid you wouldn't like me. But here's the deal. I cuss a lot. And I like to cuss. And I feel like there's some cool energy behind a lot of cuss words. And also, I like to challenge the paradigm that words are good or bad, right? So I'm just going to let you know here, not even as an apology, but just as a courtesy, that it is very possible that I will begin to cuss during these shows. And if that occurs, that's because it's what's true for me in the moment. There's a lot happening in my space that I don't typically share. So this is good. And you know what else? So there are some people that this is really easy for, commenting on their lives and sharing every minute by minute of what's happening. I'm actually an introvert. So this is a big, big edge for me. I'm actually pretty private. And yet I have this big mission on the planet. And so I'm always walking this edge of, okay, how do I do that in a way that's true to me and also serving my mission? And you may feel that too. A lot of us healers are soft-hearted and internal, and sometimes the world feels like a scary place. And nearly all of the cards I've been drawing lately have been about protecting myself and not letting in, others' criticisms and things like that. And I see that now as I stop playing it safe and as I show up in the more full truth of my vulnerabilities and my, landing in the show, I know that is going to expand it rapidly. And it will also possibly, open the gates for people who don't agree with it or have an opinion about it or want to project their stuff in my direction. And so I am, I'm competent and I'm confident that I can be in my power and that I can navigate those waters because the thing I'm most committed to is truth for me and for you. So you can count on me for that. All right, so let's see. Is there anything I want to share about down and in before I open the lines here? No, that feels good. All right, I feel ready to receive you. So, Viv, when you're ready, I am open to receive our first caller. And we'll start taking a look at where we may be hovering above. And while that occurs, I think we have a few callers on hold, but if you're feeling it, you're welcome to call in and see. We'll just see how it flows. But it's 937-552-2747. All right. So we'll just presence here as we're waiting for this first call to pop in. You can close your eyes and sway your hips a little bit. and drop right into your own body. All right, so we have our first caller. This is Audrey. Hello, Audrey.
Hi, Joey.
How are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you doing?
I am wonderful. I'm glad to hear your voice.
It's great to hear your voice again, too. I actually tried to call in last week, and I just missed it. I would have been the one after your last call. So I felt like, I wanted to call in today, and I didn't know we were going to be doing this, but I suppose it's what I meant to be receiving. So
Of course, I know, and I love it that you called back in. And so, of course, your medicine was more this week. So we'll see what that turns out to be, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful. Well, I'm ready when you are, darling. So what would you like to have me take a look at?
So, well, I'll tell you what I was going to ask you last week, and maybe we can go from there.
Sure.
So, I'm a huge fan of your work, and I know it fairly well now, having done one of your programs. And I have been thinking about a lot about, kind of my next steps and what my kind of medium or long-term future looks like and how I'm meant to serve. And the question I was going to ask you last week was, I know that you have a course coming up at some point. You're going to be teaching people how to read energy. I know the power of your gifts and your seeing. And I really wanted to know what your perspective is on whether anyone can do that and learn to do that, to read energy and to heal people with energetic techniques, or whether that's something that some people have an intuitive gift for or not.
Thank you for that question. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to answer that question, and then I also have a reflection for you if you want it. Okay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Beautiful. I always come with the strings attached. You think you're going to ask about me, and then I'm going to see you.
Perfect.
Yeah, beautiful. So, yes, actually, every single person on the planet has the ability to read and see energy. I do believe that for certain people, that is more their soul path, right? So I actually, I was born on the 11th. That's a very intuitive number. It's in my cards, in my stars, in my signs, right? And I actually, I was always fairly intuitive growing up, but I didn't know that's what it was. And I couldn't call on it when I wanted. So I would know things that other people didn't know, or I would, meet someone and, like when I was in the business world, I was a sales manager and we had to hire people. And I always had this intuitive sense, like I knew who would make it and who would not. And I had a really high percentage of the people that I hired who succeeded. Like in the company, it was probably like 10%. And, my people, it was about 75%. I didn't know that's what I was doing, but I could feel it, So there were these clues kind of around the edges. But then I went to energy school and I learned how to do it. And I learned how to do it on command. And then I practiced it. And then I got even better at it. And then I got really good at it. So, but I have also taught many people to read energy who had, they didn't think that they knew how to read it at all. And then, it turns out that they're brilliant at it. So I've never actually met anyone who was unable to see energy, usually even in the first attempt. Like in the first class, people are seeing stuff and it's totally freaky. You're like, oh my God, how did this happen? Like, really? This was possible my whole life and I didn't know this could happen. So, it's really like, it is one of our senses. We're built with it. It's just like, hearing or seeing or tasting. We do have that ability and it's just waking it up. The very common experience that happens with people who learn to read energy is as they start deepening into it, they often say, oh my gosh, I've been doing this in my life. I've done this before. I just didn't know that's what I was doing. Right. So it's really about waking up to what that mechanism is and then building your confidence that when you're getting information, you're really seeing something, or you're really knowing something. And so that's how we train it is you're getting feedback as you're reading. So you're not guessing, but you're literally getting validation, which helps you build the muscle of confidence, which helps you open into the ability. So, so anybody can learn it for sure. Cool. Does that answer that part of your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Yeah, perfect. So, okay, so here comes the reflection. So what I heard underneath that question is, I want to live my purpose, and I'm wondering if reading energy is necessary for me to get or do or know before I can really step into my purpose. Is that accurate?
Yes, and I'll give you a little more context.
Great.
There's a few things I've been exploring recently, and there's actually I was approached by an old colleague I knew like 10 years ago in the last couple months, who is a coach now with like a human potential company, like a personal and professional development company. And they have a very masculine set of tools. There's nothing spiritual, mystical, or metaphysical about what they do at all. And at first I was very turned off by that idea. And as he told me more about it, I was compelled to explore more. So I visited the company. I participated in a workshop. And I was actually quite impressed by what they do. And, it really appealed to, the old Audrey, the kind of logical, head-based, kind of not as in her body, not as intuitive. And it fit that old Audrey really well. And I really think they're doing great work in the world for people who don't really have spiritual inclinations and wouldn't otherwise be getting some of this transformational work. So I thought it was great. And at the same time, I felt like it doesn't satisfy this other part of me. So if I were to take a path where I'd be working with them in the future or wanting to coach with them, there'd be something big missing from my life. And so I've been feeling this kind of pull of, I like what they do, but I don't know if it's fully me. And that's kind of where this question came from is, well, even if I wanted to do this in a different way, would I have the ability to?
Got it. Beautiful. All right. So let's play. Okay. So what I feel as you're saying all of that is the thing that would have you hovering above your life in this area of your purpose is feeling that there is a piece outside of you that will do it for you, right? So it's like, oh, there's a map out there somewhere that is going to be the key. And I just have to discern where the key is so I can put that piece in place. So then I'll be living the purpose, right?
Yes. Totally. Someone mapped this for me, so I can just follow the map.
Yes. And then, pretty please, could you also give me a report card and let me know that I did it really well?
Yep.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? That's why that's why we all buy those business blueprints and the success formula and all of that crap, because we all want that. The problem is one size does not fit all, because sometimes you need to detach, and sometimes you need to get in the game, and sometimes you need to surrender, and sometimes you need to pick up the reins, right? So there is no one size fits all. But what I feel for you as you were talking, so two things. Anytime you find yourself in an either or, right? Like either I do this or I do that, you're caught in an illusion, because dichotomies are a lie. It's never this or that. It's always both and, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm feeling is, in this instance, it's not, the truth is not a choice between magic school and this other thing. What really needs to happen is you moving the fear that you have around actually being in your full power, offering the gifts. Because your edge is you're always going to get lost in a million classes, right? Mm-hmm. And then you'll think you need another class. And then you'll think you'll need another class. And then, if this certification, that's really going to light you on fire, right? Which, again, we do. Like, how many of us are perennial users of courses, right? I spent nearly $100,000 on courses before I started reading energy and got present to the pattern. And then I was like, oh my gosh, okay, no more classes. Like, I put myself on a fast. so that I could just be down and in with the tools I already had. Right? Yeah. So, and I actually get for you, it's not even about you doing anything. What I was seeing is your next step is to actually embody the work, right? To be the thing. So I see you like dancing. I see tantra. I see sexuality. I see moving the hips, very internally focused and driven, like deepening into the depths of who you are and being so sturdy in that will then be the tone that says, oh, you know what supports this deep feeling of me is this modality, right? So it's an inside out. I'm already full and lit up and turned on, and this will serve that. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. And it's so counter to what my mind wants to do. But it absolutely makes sense. That was a great reflection.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Any other questions about that?
No, I think that I can take that and run with it.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Jody. It's so good to talk to you again.
You too, sweetie. Thanks for coming, and happy tantraing. That looks juicy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So All right. Take care.
Bye, sweetie.
Bye.
All right. Awesome. That was fun. Okay, so let's just take a minute. Actually, before we receive the next one, let's take a minute. So I'd like you to internalize the medicine from Audrey into your own life. Where are you outrunning the gifts you already have? Okay, so it's not about you don't ever need another class or that you won't ever take another class. You will. You totally will. But how many classes do you have sitting on your shelf that you haven't actually done? Right? How many tools do you know that you haven't even been practicing? So we all do that. So just take a minute, and instead of running toward whatever the next thing is you think is going to fill you, what if you could turn around and land right here in this workshop of tools that you actually have surrounding you, right? And what you may notice as you do that is there may be some anxiety that comes up. It's like, I don't want to be here, right? There's a reason you're not already landed. So you might have to feel some fear or some anxiety or some aloneness. Like, how can I do this myself? Or I need help, or I need other wisdom. I need to pay my money to somebody who will fix me or do me or help me, right? Instead of that, just be with the feeling. Don't rush to a solution. Feeling the feeling is the solution, right? Because what you'll notice is on the other side of that feeling is clarity, is truth, is your inner wise woman who's trying to give you information and you keep running away from her, right? To someone else's inner wise woman. All right, so move your hips as you integrate that information. You can see it and know it and do it with love and without judgment. Right? So there's no reason to beat yourself up. It's human nature. It's a healthy psychology that has you doing that. And also, if you're evolving, your higher consciousness doesn't need that. So this is just the opportunity to kind of see what's there and let go of what's not serving. So thank you, Audrey, for your medicine. Beautiful. Okay. With that, we are open to receive our next caller. And as we open the line for the call to be put through, go ahead and just receive a breath. Okay, here we go. Hi, this is Jody. Who's this?
Hey, Jody, it's Sally.
Hi, Sally. Welcome.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for being brave and calling in today.
Well, I saw the title, and I didn't even know exactly what you were going to talk about, but I knew I needed to dial the phone.
I love that. Thank you for listening to that. I don't know either, but we'll see, won't we?
Yes, we will. I think you already do.
So do you have any words that, I mean, now that you're here and you've dialed the phone, do you have any thoughts about where you might be hovering above something in your life?
It's funny. I actually had someone point out to me yesterday that I kind of go unconscious. So I'm, when things get uncomfortable, I go unconscious. So it's either happy or I'm not there. So I'm assuming that's the same as hovering above, just, not being present, not being down and in. So, there's a couple of different places that come to mind. One would be my work. I feel like I'm in it some of the time, and other times I'm not. And same with my relationship. I'm never quite in. So I don't know. You choose.
Okay.
I'm sure it's all related.
Perfect. Yeah, I see that you're accurate, that you are hovering above your work for sure. And of course, the juicier piece is the relationship. So are you up for talking about that one?
Sure.
Okay, good. All right, so let's take a look. So just by way of presencing for people listening, do you want to just give a couple sentences of background? Like, how long have you been in this relationship? What do you mean by saying you kind of hover above it? Like, what does that look like so people can feel them and their story in your story? Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay.
Sure. Almost 13 years we've been together, not married. We lived together, have for, 8, 9 years, something like that. Obviously, I'm hovering above. I don't even know how long. Because I've had one foot in and one foot out from probably day one. So I have family in Chicago. I'd really love to be in Chicago, and I see it as an either or. I can't be here and have that at the same time. So, and being here is scary. We've had some really difficult, rough patches, and, stepping into this almost seems impossible. So I hover instead.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Okay, great. Thanks for sharing those details. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's see something new here. So what is it that has you hovering above this relationship that we could move in a few minutes here? Yeah, I see you hovering way above it. Not even like there's 1 foot in and 1 foot out, but literally like your whole body is completely above the space, So it looks like you do a lot of going through the motions where your body is there and it's doing things that look like a relationship, but your heart and your soul and your spirit are nowhere present.
Yeah, I'd say that's accurate.
Yeah. So let's just take a look and let's see, why is that happening? Yeah, so, all right. So are you sure you're okay with this? We're going to go deep. That's how I roll.
Viv promised me it'd be painless.
Oh, she did? We got to have her quit promising
She
that.
lied. No, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So down and in is sometimes messy. And also the truth will set you free. It's so good. All right. So what I see is, your soul felt like it got hurt. It witnessed some pain in the relationship between your parents, in the divorce of your parents. And it looks like your soul is like, I'm going to watch a relationship, but I am not going to get my heart broken in one. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, except for the problem is when you have this belief or this vow to not get your heart broken, then what happens is you continually attract getting your heart broken just from a distance, right? So you talk about these rough patches. Those are because you're afraid to get your heart broken. So the fear is literally making your heart a magnet to betrayal and mistrust and disappointment and all of those pieces. So it feels to me like, anytime we're thinking about being down in it, it's a choice. It's a choice. Just like in this radio show, I had a thought that I would talk about being down and in. And then when I got in front of the microphone, it was tempting to do it from up above, right? So I started up above and then I was like, okay, am I going to do that again? Or am I going to be down and in, right? So your soul has a choice. It can totally keep going through motions and not actually experiencing the feelings, right? Or it can have the experience it actually came here to have, which is a human experience that includes some messiness, that includes some joy and some good things, and it also includes sometimes some pain and some tears, right? And some anger and some frustration. So, if you could imagine actually like kind of hopping up there to meet with your soul and just see, is there anything the soul needs in order to make a decision if it wants to keep hovering above or if it wants to come back down? Can you do that?
Yeah, my first thought was, my soul was like, yeah, whatever, felt it already. I've been hurt too many times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would have a question for your soul, which is, has your soul felt it too many times, or did your soul feel it one time?
Yeah, I think it probably felt it at one time and then just backed out.
Yeah. Yeah. And outside of that, it's almost been like all of these, quote, heartbreaks that you've had have really almost been like ghost heartbreaks. Like they've happened to the body of Sally, right? But the soul has been removed from them. Is what it feels like to me.
Okay.
So I guess, really the question for your soul is there a good reason to come in and actually feel this life?
Yeah, there's lots of good reasons. I'm missing out on a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't come down and in, you're basically in purgatory.
Right.
Right? You're not up. You're not up in the ethers where things are blissful. You're not with source. And you're also not down here, which was the whole playground you came to experience. So you're kind of just stuck in between, which is why you go unconscious. Like it's literally the checkout place.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
So, maybe your soul just needs reminded why it came here, and also that it's an infinite, eternal soul. So no pain that could be experienced here could do anything to diminish it. That it's whole and complete, even with an experience that it didn't expect or that didn't feel good in the moment. And so literally, the fear of the soul is that if it comes in, it's going to be trapped, right? Because we're used to being big and expansive when we're souls, and then we come into this human body and it's like, what is this limited thing, So even if you choose to come down in this moment, you can choose tomorrow. You can choose to get with your boyfriend and be like, I don't know, you scared me. I'm going up again, right? And then you'll just have the choice to be like, okay, but do I want to feel this? Am I willing to feel this? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So question 1 in this moment is, would your soul be willing to come down and into your body just in this moment? Just here with me.
Thunder just went off. I'll take that as a yes.
This is earth shaking. Yeah, and so just, let this be easy. Right? It's just a body. Let it slide down and in. Mm-hmm. Good. I also have to tell you, one of the reasons, as you're sliding into the body, one of the reasons that you work your body so hard is because it's hard to feel it because you're not in it, right? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can nurture our bodies and be a lot kinder to them when we can actually feel them.
Okay.
Yeah. So what does your soul think of being down and in? Good job, by the way.
Yeah, it definitely feel more grounded. It's still a little quivery around the edges.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw that it landed and then it was like, maybe I don't. Okay. So it's kind of like noodly.
Yeah.
Great. So imagine that you could infuse some safety around the soul. Right. So you can just almost like propping it up with energetic pillows so that it fills your body out. Kind of like when we turn the essence up, right? It's like the soul is the hand filling out the glove of the body. Yeah. Good. And notice as that happens, how all of a sudden it's almost like easier to lift your arms, or they're almost like animated and you didn't like have to think to have that happen. Do you notice that feeling at all? That impulse?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So this is the co-creative dance where you get to play with like, what would that be like? Could I trust my soul? Can I surrender and let the soul be out front? Trusting that it has wisdom, right? Is the soul okay with that? Right? So you're just playing, you're getting to know each other. So just move your body a little bit, get used to that. There you go. Can you feel how if you were to show up in your relationship in this way, you would no longer be the victim to the relationship? You don't have to say yes if you don't feel that, but just try it on.
Yeah, I think so.
Doesn't mean that you wouldn't get hurt in the relationship. I don't mean that. What I mean is you wouldn't be the victim and you wouldn't be waiting for him to become a different person or for him to start doing the right things or stop doing the wrong things. What it means is you would be showing up as an equal, saying, I am willing to be met. I'm willing to be seen. I demand to be seen and known, right? It would be a co-creation rather than creation on his part, reaction on your part. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, good. All right, so keep playing with that. Just play with that. And remember, when your soul exits up above, you can just choice point at any moment. Am I willing to feel this? Invite her back down in, let her get acclimated, and then feel what there is. Make sense?
Okay. Yep. Totally.
Beautiful. And I know because I know who you know, you have a beautiful network of people who can support you in that. And initially, because it's so foreign and scary, it might be useful to have someone doing that with you, like just tracking. Are you down and in? What does that feel like? So that you don't go unconscious when you're getting used to it.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yep.
Beautiful.
Perfect.
All right, darling. Thanks for being so brave and transparent with us today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right.
Bye.
Bye, sweetie. All right. So let's take a little moment here to just integrate the medicine that we received from Sally. I would venture to say that probably 99% of us are hovering above our relationships, right? There's some way that you're not fully there. Some of us specialize in not being fully in the relationship by feeling the pain of the other person, right? So we think we're totally in because we're literally like letting the other person in our space, but that's not actually being in the relationship. That's you hiding behind their stuff rather than being in the relationship in your power, right? So notice if that may be a tendency that you have. Others of us tend to be more checking out. So we do that by having one foot in, one foot out, right? Like not committing or not putting roots down, or we might do it by withholding ourselves. So we're constantly mad at our partner, which has us, have a wall between us. So there's so many tactics that we can pull in that have us still hovering above. What it feels like to go down and in is vulnerable, right? It is scary. It is tender. It is raw. Your ego is going to be yelling at you like, get the heck out of here, So just notice if that's the case. And I promise that if you can just stick with it, you will actually feel something on the other side of that wobbliness that happens at first, right? So you just need to stick with it. Okay, so let's receive a breath. Okay, beautiful. So I just want to acknowledge, I see that we have a caller coming in, and yet we're at the top of the hour. So I'm just going to say hello to Christine, but I don't think we're going to have time to do the actual work. So we'll just see if it's a quick question. Hello, Christine.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. I was listening to you. It's a little bit of a delay.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So what I was saying is, here you are calling in and transferring over. And so I wanted to acknowledge that. And yet we're near the top of the hour, but I also feel like there is something important about the medicine you're bringing. So now that I have you on the line, I would like to go ahead and do it. Is that all right?
That's awesome. Absolutely.
Perfect. All right. So what would you like me to take a look at?
Well, I have been focusing on growing my business this year, my coaching practice, and I just want to know, where is it that I am hovering above here in the receiving of more clients?
Beautiful. Okay, great. So that's a perfect one. So many women are relating to that one. In fact, I was playing with that energy myself this morning, right? Even if you have clients, right? You don't have $1 million of clients, or if you do, you don't have $2 million of clients. So there's always a way you could be more down and in. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So let's just play here. Let's take a look and see, what does it look like with you and your business right now? All right. So it looks to me like you're doing a beautiful job of presenting yourself out in the world, right? So it looks like the facade looks really good. I actually don't even know what your website looks like at this point, but it feels like the accoutrements are all there. Like your presence is good, your videos are good, however you're presenting the product and your service looks like it's A+. What it feels like is you're hovering above, and that you're a little out in front of rooting into the work itself, right? So there's a way that you're offering what you think people will buy or what they will want, rather than, let me just make sure this is true, rather than what lights you up, right? So I think there are some pieces on your vulnerability side that would really set your work apart and would have people flocking to be part of it because of the truth and authenticity that would be infused in the work if you just take a little step back from the presentation and more into essence, right? Does that make sense to you?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm totally getting singing, by the way. I just have to tell you again.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yes, because I play with that, and actually, that you say that, I'm like, oh, that lights me up. I get an immediate jolt. And so when you spoke to the first caller, Audrey, and you said she needs to fully embody, again, the hair on the back of my arm stood up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just feeling into how does singing play into your business? Do you want to tell the people what you do for a business?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now I'm transitioning. I was doing more of a holistic health coaching for moms and putting moms in the driver's seat of her family's health. And now I am infusing more of that, as well as the mom who is desiring to follow her own passions and reconnect to that piece of her soul that she might have put aside, to have her children or to focus on raising them. Those talents that light her up and really make her feel alive in the world.
Okay, so that's perfect. That's exactly why we took your medicine today. Okay, beautiful. So you have to live that. You have to walk your talk, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a way that you could be one of those gurus who said, you should totally go do what you want to do. Meanwhile, you're squashing your dream of singing.
Oh, so cute.
So cute. I love it. Yeah. So your empowering question to open up the energy space is, let's just feel. It's not like, how does singing, play into my work? Like, that's totally the wrong question. It feels it's like, what is my heart song? Mm-hmm. If there were no barriers, if it wasn't about making money or getting clients or who would buy this, right? If all of that was handled, what is your heart song? If it wasn't about, do I have time and can I be a good mom doing this and all of that crap, what song would your heart sing?
I don't know, something that just came to mind is The Circle of Life from Lion King. And it's like rawness and tribal connection of how we're all one, connected collectively. And that piece of rebirthing when the baby is born.
Okay, I have goosebumps on that one. I feel like there's, I wonder if there's a way that, because I know that you're passionate about moms and babies and health, and I wonder if there's a way of like singing babies into the world. Oh
my God, Jody, that's what I say I did with my daughter, because she did not come out until I started singing, and she's already a singer, like in her essence.
Christine, your soul is calling.
I have tears coming down.
Ring, ring. Your soul is calling. Yeah. So your invitation is to be with that. Just be with that. Don't try to turn it into a business model, right? In this moment, don't try to do it, right? Just be with the beauty of the feeling of that. I can sing babies into the world. Huh. That's pretty fucking miraculous. I'm just going to say that right now. Okay? Yeah. So you're going to deepen into that. You're going to play with singing. You're going to let your tears flow. You're going to sing to your daughter. And then you're just going to see what transpires. Right?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I feel it through my whole body right now.
Yeah. I do too. Don't we all want that? In the tribe, post your encouragement for Christine of how much we want her singing babies into the world, right? Because I guarantee you everyone listening is feeling that same fire of being lit up. That's what happens when we get in touch with our soul. That is the magic. Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Thank you, courageous woman. I so appreciate you sharing with us today.
Thank you. There was no way I was not, I don't know, I rearranged to be on the call. Interestingly, I didn't know why. And then I got on the call and Viv was like, Christina, I feel like there's someone that needs to go before you. And I kind of deflated. I was like, okay. And I'm like, wow, I really felt that I needed to be here and now it might not happen. And then she's like, Christine, the person got disconnected or they hung up and you're next. And I'm like, yes.
Beautiful. It's
been a journey just to be with you, Jody, but I fully got what I needed. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Deep bow to you, sister. Love you.
Same. Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow. That's cool. Miracles in action. All right. So that's it. That is the journey, right? Is that we're at these choice points all the time of deciding, first of all, discerning, am I all the way in here? Do I want to be all the way in here? And then choosing to actually get there. And as you can see, it's super difficult to get there on your own. So use the women in your community, use a coach, use energy workers. My invitation to you, as I get down and in, I must stand for you, and I see you. I see so many of you standing just at the edge of this radio show, right? So you're listening to these other women calling in. You're thinking about your own healing that you're maybe going to kind of get to at some point. If you're feeling that pull, even if you don't know how it's going to work, you don't know exactly why you're calling, you do not have to have it all figured out. But if you want to have support, to see where it is you may be blind to where you're hovering, if you want to move what's in the way so that you can be in your power and get your own show on the road, Viv and I are happy to help support you. So give us a call or actually give us an email would be better because we won't always be on the radio. So give us an email, Viv, V-I-V, at jodyengland.com. That's how you throw your hat over the wall and set up a session. So the first session's free. We'll talk to you about what you want, and then we'll put a plan together that makes sense. So I just want you to know that I see you and I feel you, and I am a stand for you being all that you came here to be. Your soul chose this journey, and you chose this journey. And so, of course, you can continue waiting and hanging out up there in purgatory. And when you're ready to move out of that space and be here, we will happily receive you. So thank you for joining us today. Next week, we will be entertaining an untamed guest, Sabina Messner, who is a shamanic medicine woman who facilitated the beginning of my rebranding myself. And she does this beautiful essence work where she takes you through your soul journey, and you get to answer a lot of these questions about really what are you here to do. So we're going to be talking about that process and how a lot of these cool things were birthed for me. So tune in next week to hear her story and my story. And until then, thank you for being with us. Bye, everyone.
We light a candle, our hearts awake. Illumination, for God's sake. A revelation, for God's sake. An inspiration, for God's sake. Illumination, for God's sake. For God's sake. For God's sake. For God.